My name is Eva. I am 32 years old, and for 15 years, I was the heart of every Thanksgiving in my family. I cooked every dish, decorated every table, and made sure everyone felt loved. They always said the holiday would fall apart without me. Then one night, my parents sent a message that shattered everything I believed. They told me to skip Thanksgiving. They said they needed space. They said the family would be happier without me. But hours later, they showed up at my door with tears in their eyes. Before I tell you what happened that Thanksgiving, let me know where you are tuning in from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family until you are not there anymore, smash that like button because this story will hit close to home. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because this story will remind you of your own worth. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a quiet suburb just outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our neighborhood was the kind where everyone knew each other's names, where kids played in the streets until the sun went down, and where families gathered on front porches during warm summer evenings. My parents, Robert and Patricia, had lived in the same house for over 35 years. It was a modest two-story colonial with faded blue shutters and a wraparound porch that my father had built himself when I was just a baby. I was the middle child in our family. My older sister, Brooke, was 35, always the ambitious one, always chasing something bigger and better. My younger brother, Kyle, was 28, the laid-back one who floated through life without too many worries. And then there was me, Eva, stuck in the middle somehow, always the one holding everyone together. Our grandmother, Grace, lived in a nursing home about 20 minutes away. She was 81 years old, sharp as a tack, despite what her body was going through. Grandpa had passed away 10 years ago, right before Thanksgiving. That holiday had been his favorite. He used to say that Thanksgiving was not about the food or the football. It was about gratitude. It was about looking around the table and realizing how blessed you were to have the people sitting beside you. When Grandpa died, something shifted in our family. The joy of the holidays seemed to fade. That first Thanksgiving without him was quiet, somber, almost unbearable. I remember sitting at the table, looking at his empty chair, feeling like the warmth had been sucked out of the room. My mother barely cooked that year. She made a small turkey and some store-bought sides, and we ate in silence. That was when I decided I would not let his memory fade. I was 17 years old, and I marched into the kitchen the day after that sad Thanksgiving and asked my grandmother to teach me everything. She smiled at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Eva, you have your grandfather's heart." Over the next few weeks, she taught me her secret recipes: the sweet potato casserole with the brown sugar pecan topping that melted in your mouth, the homemade cranberry sauce that was perfectly tart and sweet, the apple pie with the flaky crust that Grandpa used to say was better than any bakery in town. I wrote everything down in a little notebook, and I promised her that I would keep the tradition alive. From that year forward, I became the unofficial keeper of Thanksgiving. Every single year without fail, I was the one who made it happen. I would start planning in September, creating the menu, making lists, budgeting for groceries. By early November, I would begin the prep work, making pie crusts and freezing them, ordering the turkey from the local butcher, gathering all the ingredients. The week of Thanksgiving was always a whirlwind. I would take days off from my job as an elementary school teacher to dedicate myself fully to the preparations. I would wake up at 4 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day to start the turkey, basting it every hour, filling the house with that incredible aroma that meant the holidays had truly arrived. But it was never just about the food. I was the one who decorated my parents' house, hanging autumn wreaths on the doors, arranging centerpieces on the tables, making sure every detail was perfect. I was the one who drove to the nursing home early in the morning to pick up Grandma, carefully helping her into the car, making sure she was comfortable for the ride. I was the one who set up a special recliner for her in the living room so she could rest when she got tired. And I was the one who played peacemaker when tensions arose, because in every family there are tensions. Brooke and Kyle had never gotten along particularly well. She thought he was lazy and unmotivated. He thought she was stuck up and judgmental. More than once I had to step between them, smoothing over arguments, redirecting conversations, making sure the day stayed peaceful. For 15 years, I did all of this. 15 years of early mornings and late nights. 15 years of aching feet and flour-covered aprons. 15 years of making sure everyone else had a perfect holiday while I barely had time to sit down and eat. And everyone always said the same thing. Thank God we have Eva. What would we do without you? This family would fall apart if you ever stopped doing this. I believed them. I believed that I was valued. I believed that my sacrifice meant something. But not once in all those years did anyone ever ask if I needed help. Not once did anyone offer to take over a dish or come early to help set up. Not once did anyone say, "Eva, you look tired. Why do not you sit down and let me handle something?" I told myself it was fine. I told myself that this was my role, my contribution to the family. I told myself that the smiles on their faces, the compliments on the food, the warmth of the gathering was enough reward. This year was supposed to be special. It was the first Thanksgiving since Grandma had recovered from breaking her hip. She had been in physical therapy for months, working hard to regain her mobility. The doctors had finally cleared her to leave the nursing home for extended visits, and I was determined to make this the most memorable Thanksgiving yet. I started planning back in September even earlier than usual. I researched special wheelchair-accessible transportation so Grandma would be comfortable during the ride. I called my parents and asked them to set up the guest bedroom downstairs so she could rest in a proper bed if she got tired. I even learned a new recipe, a roasted turkey with herb butter, that Grandpa used to make before I was born. Grandma had mentioned at once how much she missed that particular flavor, and I spent weeks perfecting it. I was so excited. I imagined the look on Grandma's face when she tasted that turkey. I imagined her eyes filling with tears as she remembered Grandpa. I imagined our whole family gathered around the table, grateful and connected, honoring the traditions that had held us together through everything. I had no idea that everything was about to fall apart. Everything changed the summer before that Thanksgiving when Brooke got married. His name was Derek. He was an investment banker from a wealthy family in Connecticut. He wore tailored suits and drove a car that cost more than my annual salary. He spoke with the kind of confidence that came from never having been told no in his entire life. Their wedding was extravagant. It was held at a prestigious country club with crystal chandeliers and imported flowers and a 12-piece orchestra. My parents kept whispering about the cost, estimating it was well over $100,000. Derek's family paid for everything, and they made sure everyone knew it. I tried to give Derek a chance. I really did. When we first met at the engagement party, I smiled warmly and asked him about his work, his hobbies, his family. He answered politely enough, but there was something in his eyes, a dismissiveness that made me uncomfortable. At one point, he asked me what I did for a living. I told him I was an elementary school teacher, that I worked with second graders, that I loved watching their faces light up when they finally understood a difficult concept. He nodded slowly and said, "Oh, that is nice." The way he said it, with that slight pause that barely concealed condescension, told me everything I needed to know about how he saw me. In his world, teachers were not important. We were not successful. We were just people who could not make it in the real world. I brushed it off at the time. I told myself I was being oversensitive, but looking back, I realized that moment was the first crack in the foundation. After the wedding, Brooke changed. Or maybe she did not change so much as reveal who she had always wanted to be. She started posting constantly on social media, showing off her new house, her designer clothes, her expensive vacations. She started making comments about how simple our family was, how we needed to elevate our lifestyle. In October, I excitedly shared my Thanksgiving menu with the family group chat. I had been perfecting some recipes and was proud of what I had planned. The sweet potato casserole, the cranberry sauce, the herb butter turkey, all the classics, plus a few new additions. Brooke responded almost immediately. Sweet potato casserole. That is so outdated, Eva. I stared at my phone confused. She had loved that casserole her entire life. She used to sneak into the kitchen and eat spoonfuls of it before dinner, and I would playfully scold her for ruining her appetite. Before I could respond, she sent another message. Derek's family does Thanksgiving completely differently. They have everything catered by professional chefs. It is so much more sophisticated. I typed back carefully, trying not to sound defensive. But this is our tradition. Grandma loves these dishes. They remind her of Grandpa. Brooke's response was quick. Grandma needs to try new things too. She cannot live in the past forever. That stung more than I expected. These were not just recipes to me. They were memories. They were love made tangible. They were the only way I knew how to keep Grandpa's spirit alive. But I let it go. I told myself Brooke was just excited about her new life, that she would calm down eventually, that everything would be fine once Thanksgiving actually arrived. 2 weeks before the holiday, my mother called me. I could hear something strange in her voice, a hesitation that put me on edge immediately. Eva, honey, I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving. I was in the middle of reviewing my shopping list, checking off items I had already purchased. Sure, Mom. What is up? I was just about to order the turkey. Did you want me to get a bigger one this year since Grandma will be there? Actually, Mom paused, and I heard her take a breath. Brooke and Derek offered to host this year. The words did not register at first. I must have heard wrong. What do you mean, host? They want to have Thanksgiving at their house. Derek says their place is bigger, more comfortable for Grandma with her wheelchair and everything. But we always do it at your house, I said, my voice smaller than I intended. I have already started prepping. I bought the turkey. I made the pie crust. You can still help, honey, Mom said, her voice taking on that soothing tone she used when she was trying to avoid conflict. Just let Brooke take the lead this time. She is really excited about it. I did not know what to say. 15 years. 15 years I had done this, and suddenly, without any discussion, it was being handed to someone else. But I told myself to be mature, to be flexible. Maybe it would be nice to not be in charge for once. Maybe I could just relax and enjoy the holiday like everyone else. Okay, I said finally. That is fine. I will bring all the traditional dishes. Grandma will be so happy. Great, Mom said, sounding relieved. I will let Brooke know. Less than an hour later, Brooke called me directly. Her voice was clipped, businesslike, nothing like the warm sister I remembered from childhood. So Mom told you about the new plan, she said. Yes, I think it will be nice to have it at your place. I am excited to bring the food. Actually, Brooke interrupted, we are doing a completely different menu this year. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Derek is ordering everything from this amazing French caterer. They do duck confit, truffle, risotto, all these incredible dishes. We want the whole meal to be cohesive, so we are not doing any homemade stuff. But Brooke, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, Grandma expects the sweet potato casserole. It is her favorite. It is the recipe she taught me herself. Eva, Brooke sighed, sounding exasperated. You cannot keep living in the past. Grandma will love the new food once she tries it. Trust me. I am not living in the past, I said, my voice rising despite my best efforts. I am honoring our traditions. I am honoring Grandpa. See, this is exactly what I am talking about, Brooke said. You are always so controlling about these things. Just show up and enjoy for once. Stop making everything about you. The line went dead. I sat there holding my phone, feeling like I had been slapped. Controlling. Making everything about me. I had spent 15 years making everything about everyone else. I had sacrificed countless hours, poured my heart into every meal, and this was how she saw me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. but instead I did what I always did. I pushed the feelings down and told myself it would be okay. Brooke was stressed with her new marriage. Derek was influencing her. Everything would work out once the holiday arrived. I had no idea how wrong I was. In the days that followed, I tried everything I could think of to find some kind of compromise. I called my mother again, keeping my voice light and casual. Mom, I was thinking, even if Brooke is handling the main courses, maybe I could bring just one thing, the apple pie. It was Grandpa's recipe. It would mean so much to Grandma. Mom hesitated. Let me check with Brooke first. That sentence hit me harder than it should have. Check with Brooke? Since when did anyone need permission to bring a pie to Thanksgiving? An hour later, I received a text from Brooke. Mom said you want to bring pie. Derek already ordered a dessert tray from a French patisserie. It is going to be amazing. Thanks anyway. No discussion, no consideration, just a flat rejection wrapped in false politeness. I needed to talk to someone who understood, so I called Kyle. My younger brother had always been the most laid-back person in our family, the one who never got involved in drama, the one who just went with the flow. Dude, what is going on with Brooke? I asked when he picked up. She is acting like I am trying to sabotage Thanksgiving when I just want to bring Grandma's favorite foods. Kyle sighed. Yeah, she has been on some kind of power trip since she married Derek. I think she is trying to prove something. But what about Grandma? She is going to be so disappointed. Grandma is tough, Kyle said. She will survive 1 year of fancy French food. Just let Brooke have her moment and it will blow over. It is not about Brooke having a moment, I said, frustration seeping into my voice. It is about our family, our traditions, the things that actually matter. I get it, Eva. I do, but I am not going to start a war over turkey versus duck. I am just going to show up, eat whatever they serve, and bounce. After I hung up, I felt more alone than ever. Kyle did not care. Brooke did not care. My parents were too busy keeping the peace to consider my feelings. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe everyone was right and I just needed to let go. 1 week before Thanksgiving, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw something that made my heart stop. My mother had posted a photo of herself sitting in Brooke's living room. Brooke, Derek, Kyle, and my father were all there too. The caption read, "Planning session for the best Thanksgiving ever." There had been a family meeting about Thanksgiving, and I had not been invited. My hands were shaking as I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, sounding cheerful, oblivious. Ava. Hi, honey, how are you? Mom, why was not I invited to the planning meeting? There was a pause. I could practically hear her scrambling for words. Oh, sweetie, it was just a quick thing. Brooke wanted to show us the menu and the table settings. We did not think you would want to come since you seemed upset about the changes. I am not upset, I said, even though I clearly was. I just wanted to be included. This is Thanksgiving. Our family. I have been part of every single one for 15 years. You are being oversensitive, Eva. Mom's voice had a slight edge to it now. This is exactly why Brooke feels like you are difficult to work with. Difficult to work with. The words echoed in my head long after we hung up. That was what they thought of me. After everything I had done, all the years of service and sacrifice, I was the difficult one. A few days later, my father called. Dad rarely called me directly. He usually just passed messages through Mom or responded to texts with one-word answers. So when his name appeared on my screen, I knew something was wrong. Eva, we need to talk about Thanksgiving, he said without preamble. Okay, Dad, what is it? Brooke has been telling us that you have been making things difficult. She says you keep insisting on doing things your way. Dad, I just wanted to bring one dish. For Grandma, that is all. See, that is the problem right there. His voice was firm, final, the voice he used when he had already made up his mind. You cannot let go of control. Your mother and I think maybe you should take a step back this year. Take a step back. What does that even mean? Just let Brooke handle everything. Show up as a guest, not as the organizer. It might be good for everyone. I have organized Thanksgiving for 15 years, I said, my voice cracking. 1 year Brooke wants to do it, and suddenly I am the problem. Do not be dramatic, Eva. Dramatic, difficult, controlling. These were the words my own family used to describe me. 2 days before Thanksgiving, I received a phone call from a number I did not recognize. When I answered, I was shocked to hear Derek's voice. Eva, I think we need to have an honest conversation. This was the first time he had ever called me directly. I gripped the phone tighter, unsure what to expect. Your family has been walking on eggshells around you for years. Derek continued, his voice smooth and confident. They are afraid to tell you the truth because you are so intense about these traditions. Excuse me, I said, stunned. I am just saying, from an outsider's perspective, you seem to use these holidays to make yourself the center of attention. Everything has to be your recipes, your decorations, your way. Brooke has been telling me how exhausting it is to deal with your expectations. I could not believe what I was hearing. This man who had been in my family for less than 6 months was lecturing me about my own traditions, my own relationships. I do not have expectations, I managed to say. I just want to be with my family. I just want Grandma to have a nice holiday. Then prove it, Derek said. Step back and let someone else shine for once. Stop making it about you. He hung up before I could respond. I stood there in my kitchen phone, still pressed to my ear, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. Was this really how they all saw me? The villain of Thanksgiving. The controlling sister who could not let anyone else have a moment. I replayed every holiday in my mind, searching for evidence of my supposed crimes. All I saw were early mornings and tired feet, lovingly prepared meals, and carefully chosen decorations. All I saw was a woman trying desperately to keep her family connected, but apparently that was not what they saw at all. The night before Thanksgiving, I made a decision. Despite everything that had happened, despite all the hurtful words and the exclusion, I would still go. Grandma would be there, and I could not bear the thought of her spending the holiday without me. I had quietly purchased the ingredients for sweet potato casserole, not to defy Brooke, but as a small gift for Grandma. I would bring it separately, maybe give it to her in the car before we went inside. Just a taste of tradition, a reminder that some things would never change. I was standing in my small kitchen chopping sweet potatoes when my phone buzzed. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked it up, expecting a reminder about tomorrow's timing or maybe a message from Kyle. Instead, I saw a new message in the family group chat. It was from my mother. Eva, your father and I have been thinking, and my heart began to race. We think it is best you skip Thanksgiving this year. I read the words 3 times, certain I was misunderstanding. We need some space as a family. Another message appeared, this time from my father. The tension has been too much lately, and we want everyone to enjoy the holiday. We love you, but this is for the best. Then Brooke chimed in. I am glad you finally said it, Mom. This is exactly what I have been trying to explain. And Derek, of course. Looking forward to a peaceful holiday. I scrolled up looking for Kyle's response. There was nothing. He had read the messages but said nothing at all. My phone slipped from my fingers and clattered to the floor. Sweet potato juice was still on my hands. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and brown sugar. Everything was ready for a holiday I was no longer welcome to attend. I sank to the floor, my back against the cabinets, and stared at the wall. 15 years. 15 years of waking up before dawn, of spending hundreds of dollars on groceries, of driving an hour to pick up Grandma, of cooking until my feet ached, of cleaning up while everyone else went home, of putting everyone else's happiness before my own. And this was my reward, a text message telling me to stay away. The family would be happier without me. I thought about calling someone, fighting back, demanding an explanation. But what was the point? They had made their decision without me. They had discussed it at their little planning meeting while I was excluded. They had probably been talking about this for weeks. Every argument, every accusation suddenly made sense. Brooke calling me controlling, Dad telling me to step back, Derek lecturing me about needing attention. They had been building a case against me, constructing a narrative where I was the problem, where removing me was the solution. I sat on that kitchen floor for what felt like hours. The sweet potatoes turned brown in the bowl. The oven stayed cold. The pie crusts I had made sat untouched in the freezer. Eventually, I picked up my phone and called Kyle. He answered after several rings, his voice wary. "Hey, did you see the messages?" A long pause. "Yeah." "You did not say anything." What was I supposed to say? Mom and Dad already decided. "You could have defended me, Kyle. You are my brother." "Look, I do not agree with them, okay, but I am not going to start a war. Maybe it is better if you just stay home this year. Let things cool down. They will probably feel bad about it by Christmas." Christmas? I could not keep the disbelief out of my voice. "Kyle, they just uninvited me from Thanksgiving. Our grandmother's first holiday back after her injury, and your advice is to wait until Christmas." I have to think about myself too, Eva. I do not want to be on their bad side. I hung up without saying goodbye. That night I did not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every conversation, every choice that had led to this point. I thought about all the times I had put the family first, all the times I had sacrificed my own needs for theirs. And I realized something. If I begged them to let me come, I would be proving their point. I would be the desperate, controlling sister who could not let go. But if I stayed home, if I accepted their rejection with dignity, I would be choosing myself for the first time in 15 years. It was not an easy decision, but sometime around 3 in the morning I made it. I picked up my phone and typed a simple response in the group chat. "I understand. Have a good holiday." No one replied. Thanksgiving morning arrived gray and cold. A thin layer of frost covered my windows, and the sky looked like it might snow. Under normal circumstances, I would have been up since 4 in the morning, basting a turkey, checking on side dishes, mentally running through my timeline for the day. Instead, I woke up at 8, still wearing yesterday's clothes, my eyes swollen from crying. For a long moment, I just lay there staring at the ceiling. The silence in my apartment was overwhelming. No timer going off, no sizzling pans, no phone calls, coordinating pickup times. Then something shifted inside me. Call it stubbornness, call it survival instinct, call it whatever you want. But I decided I was not going to spend this day wallowing in self-pity. I was going to make my own Thanksgiving. I got up, showered, and put on real clothes. I went to my kitchen and took stock of what I had. The sweet potatoes were ruined from sitting out overnight, but I had backup ingredients. I had the pie crusts in the freezer. I had a small turkey breast in the refrigerator that I had bought as a backup in case the big turkey at Brooks was not enough. I started cooking, not for anyone else, for myself. As the morning progressed and the familiar aromas filled my apartment, I started to feel something I had not felt in years. Peace. There was no pressure to impress anyone, no schedule to keep, no family drama to navigate. Just me and the food and the memories. Around noon, I heard a knock at my door. I opened it to find Mrs. Patterson, my 70-year-old neighbor, standing there with a shy smile. She was a widow, had been for almost 12 years. Her children lived across the country and rarely visited. "I hope I am not bothering you, dear," she said. "I just smelled something wonderful coming from your apartment, and I wanted to wish you a happy Thanksgiving." I looked at this sweet woman alone on the holiday just like me and made a decision. "Would you like to join me for dinner, Mrs. Patterson? I have way more food than one person can eat." Her face lit up. "Oh, I would not want to impose." "You would not be imposing. You would be saving me from eating alone." 2 hours later, we sat at my small dining table, plates piled high with turkey and homemade cranberry sauce and the sweet potato casserole I had remade from scratch. Mrs. Patterson took her first bite and closed her eyes. "Eva, this is the best Thanksgiving meal I have had in years, maybe ever." "Thank you," I said, and I meant it more than she could know. We talked for hours. She told me about her late husband, about their 52 years of marriage, about how she still set a place for him at the table every Thanksgiving. I told her about my family, about the traditions I had tried so hard to preserve, about the text message that had shattered my heart. "You know what I think," Mrs. Patterson said, reaching across the table to pat my hand. "I think your family has no idea what they have lost, and I think they are about to find out." At that very moment, miles away in Brooke's perfect house, my family was discovering exactly that. I would learn the details later, pieced together from Kyle's guilty confessions and my mother's tearful explanations. But the Thanksgiving unfolding at Brooke's house was nothing short of a disaster. The family arrived at 2 in the afternoon, dressed nicely, expecting the sophisticated celebration Derek had promised. Kyle later told me the house looked like a magazine spread. White tablecloths, crystal glassware, artfully arranged flowers. Everything perfect and cold. When they brought Grandma in through the accessible entrance, she looked around with confusion in her eyes. "Where is Eva?" she asked immediately. Mom hesitated. "Eva could not make it this year, Mom." Grandma's sharp eyes narrowed. "Could not make it on Thanksgiving? That does not sound like Eva at all." Brooke jumped in smoothly. "She had other plans, Grandma. But do not worry, we have an amazing meal planned." Grandma did not look convinced, but she let them wheel her into the living room and help her into the special chair they had set up. The caterer arrived at 4 with trays of food that Kyle described as fancy but confusing. Duck confit, truffle, risotto, foie gras, appetizers, things no one in our family had ever eaten before. There was no turkey, there was no stuffing, there was nothing that said Thanksgiving. Grandma looked at the spread with barely concealed horror. "Where is the turkey?" Derek answered with his typical condescension. "We went with duck this year, much more sophisticated than turkey." "I do not want sophisticated," Grandma said firmly. "I want turkey, like we always have, like Eva always makes." Dad tried to smooth things over. "Mom, just try it. It might surprise you." Grandma took one bite of the duck, chewed thoughtfully, and then set down her fork. "This does not taste like Thanksgiving." "Mom, it is delicious," my mother insisted. "I did not say it was not delicious. I said it does not taste like Thanksgiving." Grandma's voice was steady, unwavering. "Thanksgiving is not about fancy food. It is about tradition. It is about family. And someone very important is missing from this table." The room went silent. Kyle pushed his food around his plate, unable to eat. Dad kept glancing at the door like he expected someone to walk in. Even Brooke looked uncomfortable, her perfect plans crumbling around her. "Where is the football game?" Dad finally asked, desperate to break the tension. Derek shook his head. "We do not watch television during dinner at our house. It is distracting." So they sat in silence, eating food no one wanted, celebrating a holiday that felt like a funeral. Brooke tried one more time to salvage the day. "Why do not we go around the table and say what we are thankful for?" Grandma stood up slowly, gripping her walker for support. The whole table went still. "I will tell you what I am thankful for," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Nothing. Right now, I am thankful for nothing." "Mom," my mother gasped, "you pushed away the only person who actually cared about this day." Grandma continued. "Eva has spent 15 years making Thanksgiving special for this family. She woke up at 4 in the morning. She cooked for days. She drove an hour to pick me up. She did everything every single year, and not once did any of you offer to help her." "Grandma, that is not fair," Brooke started. Not fair? Grandma's eyes flashed. You want to talk about fair? You told your sister she was not welcome at Thanksgiving, your own sister, so you could eat duck and impress your husband's parents. The room went dead silent. Derek's face was turning red. Oh, yes, Grandma said, looking directly at him. I heard about your plan to have your parents stop by for dessert. Eva was pushed out so you could show off to strangers? That is not, Brooke faltered. Take me back to the nursing home, Grandma said. I do not want to be here anymore. This is not Thanksgiving. This is a performance, and a poor one at that. Kyle was the first one to break. He stood up from the table, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Grandma is right. This is wrong. Kyle, sit down, Brooke hissed. No. His voice was firmer than I had ever heard it. I am done pretending. He looked around the table at our parents, at Brooke, at Derek. Eva did not have other plans. You guys told her not to come. You sent her a text message telling her to skip Thanksgiving. Grandma turned slowly to face our parents. You did what? Mom's face crumbled. We thought it was for the best. There was so much tension. Tension that you created, Kyle said. Brooke has been complaining about Eva for months, ever since the wedding. And you just listened to her. You never once asked Eva for her side. That is not true, Brooke protested. It is absolutely true. Kyle was on a roll now, years of silent observations pouring out. Eva was not being controlling. She was trying to keep our traditions alive. The only reason you wanted to take over Thanksgiving was to impress Derek's family. You wanted to show them we could be fancy too, and Eva's homemade food did not fit your image. Mom looked at Brooke with new eyes. Is that true? Brooke's silence was answer enough. So you made us push our own daughter away, Dad said slowly. For appearances. For your husband's parents. It is not like that, Brooke said weakly. Grandma shook her head. It is exactly like that, and I will not spend another minute in this house. Grandma, please, Brooke tried. No. Grandma's voice was final. I want to see Eva, now. Kyle grabbed his keys. I will drive. Mom stood up too, tears streaming down her face. I am coming with you. Dad rose silently, and to everyone's surprise, so did Brooke. Derek looked bewildered. Brooke, we have my parents coming in an hour. Brooke paused at the door. She looked at her husband, then back at her grandmother, her brother, her parents. And for the first time since her wedding, I think she saw clearly. Then you entertain them, she said. I need to fix this. They loaded Grandma carefully into the car, making sure her wheelchair was secure in the trunk. The drive to my apartment took 30 minutes. 30 minutes of heavy silence and guilt. Mom tried calling me multiple times. I had turned off my phone. When they finally pulled up outside my building, they could see light in my window, could hear faint sounds of conversation. Kyle helped Grandma into her wheelchair and pushed her to the entrance. Dad held the door. Mom and Brooke trailed behind, looking like condemned prisoners walking to their sentencing. They took the elevator to the 3rd floor and stopped outside my door. Through the wood, they could hear laughter. My laughter and another voice they did not recognize. Kyle knocked. A moment later, I opened the door. I was wearing an apron dusted with flour. My hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and I was smiling genuinely, smiling for the first time in weeks. Until I saw them. My smile faded. I looked at my parents, at Brooke, at Kyle, and there in the wheelchair was Grandma, her eyes wet with tears. Eva, Grandma said, reaching out her hand. Grandma came to see you. I stood in the doorway, unable to move, unable to speak. Mrs. Patterson appeared behind me, curious about the commotion. Oh my, she said softly. I will give you all some privacy. She slipped past the group with a gentle smile and headed back to her own apartment. I watched her go, then turned back to my family. They stood clustered in the hallway like lost children, uncertain and ashamed. Mom stepped forward first. Her mascara had run, leaving dark streaks down her cheeks. She looked older than I had ever seen her. "Eva," she said, her voice breaking, "we are so sorry. We were wrong." Dad came up beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "So terribly, completely wrong." I did not say anything. I could not. 15 years of service and sacrifice had been thrown back in my face with a single text message. An apology, no matter how sincere, could not erase that. Brooke pushed past our parents, and for the first time I saw real emotion on her face. Not the polished performance, ready expression she had worn since marrying Derek. Real shame, real regret. "I was jealous, Eva," she admitted. "I have always been jealous." Jealous. The word came out as a whisper. "Of what?" "Of you, of how easy you make everything look." Brooke laughed bitterly. "You took over Thanksgiving when you were 17 and you made it perfect every single year. Everyone always talked about how wonderful Eva was, how talented, how caring, and I just felt invisible. So you made me invisible instead." Brooke flinched at my words, but she did not look away. "Yes, I did. I told myself I was just trying to do something different, to bring the family together in a new way. But the truth is, I wanted to prove I could do it better. And when I realized I could not, when I saw how much everyone missed your food and your presence, I got scared. So I convinced everyone that you were the problem. We should not have listened." Kyle stepped forward, his hands shoved in his pockets. "I should have said something in the group chat. I should have defended you. Instead, I just stayed quiet because I did not want any drama." "Drama," I repeated. "My brother chose to avoid drama over standing up for his sister." Kyle nodded, accepting the rebuke. "I know, and I am sorry. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me." Grandma had been watching all of this silently from her wheelchair. Now she tugged at my hand, pulling me down to her level. "My sweet girl," she said, cupping my face in her weathered hands. "You are so much like your grandfather. He always put family first, even when they did not deserve it." "Grandma," I whispered, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. "I am so sorry they hurt you, but I need you to know something." Her eyes still sharp despite her 81 years held mine. "You are the heart of this family. You always have been. And today, when you were not there, everyone finally realized it." "The dinner was terrible," Kyle said, and despite everything, I almost laughed at his bluntness. "It was not just the food," Mom added. "It was everything. The house felt cold, the conversation was forced, and Grandma—" She trailed off, shaking her head. "I told them exactly what I thought," Grandma said with a hint of satisfaction. "I told them they pushed away the only person who actually cared about Thanksgiving, the only person who kept your grandfather's memory alive." I straightened up and looked at my family. They stood there waiting, hoping, afraid. Part of me wanted to slam the door in their faces to let them feel even a fraction of the rejection I had experienced. But that part was small and getting smaller. "Come in," I finally said, stepping aside. They filed into my apartment one by one. Dad pushed Grandma's wheelchair carefully over the threshold. Mom immediately started crying again when she saw my small table still set with dishes from dinner with Mrs. Patterson. "You cooked," she said. "You still cooked. I was not going to let you take Thanksgiving from me completely." There was food left over, turkey and casserole and pie. I fixed plates for everyone while they settled awkwardly around my small living room. Grandma took one bite of the sweet potato casserole and closed her eyes. "This is it," she said. "This is what Thanksgiving is supposed to taste like." We ate in my tiny apartment, perched on mismatched furniture using paper napkins because I had run out of cloth ones. It was cramped and imperfect, and nothing like the elegant affair Brooke had planned, but it felt more like Thanksgiving than anything else that day. When the food was gone and the pie had been reduced to crumbs, I finally addressed what needed to be said. "I forgive you," I told them. "All of you." Mom started to cry again. Dad wiped his eyes roughly with the back of his hand. "But," I continued, "things need to change. I am not going to beg to be included anymore. I spent 15 years making Thanksgiving happen, and not once did anyone offer to help. Not once did anyone think to ask if I was tired, if I needed support. You just expected me to do it because I always had." "You are right," Dad said quietly. "From now on, if you want me at family events, you have to show it. Not assume it, not take it for granted, show it." Brooke nodded, looking humbled. "We will, I promise." "And Brooke," I looked at my sister, "Derek is not welcome in my home. Not until he apologizes for what he said to me." "What did he say?" Mom asked sharply. "He told me I use holidays to make myself the center of attention. He said the family walks on eggshells around me. He called me intense and controlling." Mom's expression hardened. "He said that to you?" "He did." Brooke closed her eyes. "I did not know he called you directly. I am so sorry, Eva." "Are you staying with him?" I asked bluntly. Brooke did not answer immediately. She looked down at her hands, at the massive diamond ring that glittered on her finger. "I do not know. Today was eye-opening. The way he acted when we left, when I chose you all over his parents' visit, I saw something in his face that scared me. Whatever you decide," I said, "you are still my sister, even after everything." The year that followed was one of change and healing. Brooke and Derek divorced by summer. It turned out their marriage had been crumbling from the inside for months, held together only by appearances and ambition. When Brooke finally let go of the illusion, she found her way back to the sister she had nearly destroyed. "Marrying him was my biggest mistake," she told me over coffee one morning, "and pushing you away was almost my second." Kyle stepped up in ways I never expected. He started calling me every week, not to ask for anything, but just to talk. He came to visit more often. And when the next Thanksgiving rolled around, he arrived at my parents' house the day before, asking what he could do to help. Mom and Dad made good on their promise. They checked in regularly, asked about my life, included me in decisions. The dynamic had shifted, and while it was not perfect, it was genuine. We had that next Thanksgiving at my parents' house, just like the old days. But this time I did not do it alone. Brooke made the cranberry sauce following Grandma's recipe exactly. Kyle peeled potatoes and only complained a little. Mom handled the table settings and decorations. Even Dad helped carving the turkey with careful precision. And Grandma was there watching all of us with a smile that seemed to hold the whole history of our family. She passed away the following spring peacefully in her sleep. But that last Thanksgiving, the one where everyone finally understood what mattered, was a gift she gave us. A reminder that family is not perfect, but it is worth fighting for. I kept her recipes, I kept her memory alive, and every Thanksgiving since, no matter who hosts or who cooks, I make the sweet potato casserole. Because some traditions are too precious to let go. Looking back on that terrible Thanksgiving when I was uninvited from my own family, I see it differently now. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it broke something inside me. But it also forced a reckoning that was long overdue. Sometimes you do not realize your own value until you are absent. Sometimes the people who should appreciate you most are the ones who forget first, but that does not mean they cannot learn. It does not mean they cannot change. I learned that forgiveness is not about pretending something did not happen. It is about choosing peace over bitterness. It is about deciding that your own well-being matters more than holding on to anger. And I learned that setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. It is survival. If your family ever makes you feel invisible, remember this. Your presence is a gift, not an obligation. Your time and energy are precious. And sometimes the best way to remind people of your worth is to let them experience life without it. They might come back, they might show up at your door on Thanksgiving night, crying and apologizing, or they might not. But either way, you will know who truly deserves your love. And that knowledge, as painful as it is to acquire, is worth more than any perfectly roasted turkey. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever been pushed away by the people who were supposed to love you most? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you have not already subscribed to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I wish you a holiday season filled with people who see you, who appreciate you, and who would never dream of asking you to skip Thanksgiving. You deserve to be at the table. Never forget that.